Hey there, today we're diving into Buildertrend and specifically getting your new client set up on Buildertrend. So hopefully you have some kind of pre-construction process where you get a client in the door, they're probably going to work with you, but you need to work through selections, budget, design, all of that. And we can do that, we should do that in Buildertrend. Okay, so Buildertrend is so important for client communication, but a lot of builders are not getting them into Buildertrend until we start production. In my opinion, that's way too late. We should use the pre-construction process as a get to know you period with your business, with Buildertrend, and how you work. So I'm going to show you how we go about setting that up within our business as well here today. Now, as with everything within Buildertrend, we should be starting with a template. I have a separate video on templates. I encourage you to check that out. They're so powerful. If you're not using templates, you're really probably just scratching the surface as to what Buildertrend is capable of. So that being said, I'm going to use the template that I have to show you this. We're not going to dive too deep into that, but I do want to show you that this is where it should all originate. If you watch my other video on templates, you know that I think we should have one template and one template only. That allows us to be really diligent about making updates to it. We're using our templates not only to save us time, but to establish SOPs, standard operating procedures, checklists, and really to establish our processes. So our template should certainly have our schedule in it. We should have to-dos that are tied to that schedule. These to-dos are really that SOP aspect, right? We're gonna say, here's how we do bids, right? I've got my bids here and I can bounce out to see what my bid process looks like, right? That all happens within our templates. We want to take advantage of that. Another often overlooked aspect of templates is your files and your architecture, your structure there, right? So do we have a standardized way of setting up our folders? Are we also embedding certain materials that are really valuable for our customers on onboarding? So for example, we're recording videos on here's how we use Buildertrend, right? We establish also our selections and some of our financials as well. Okay, so we have our template set up and we're going to use that to deploy as we invite our customers into pre-construction. So let's do exactly that. I'm going to go back over to the job section. Now I am not using Buildertrend as a CRM. Okay, I know a lot of you aren't as well. It leaves a little bit to be desired. So we're assuming we have some other CRM, and so we're going to bring this job in kind of manually, right? Some of this we can have flow in if we're using Pipedrive or HubSpot. We have some of the information flow in, but I'm going to assume right now that we're just going to add this job kind of manually. But again, the template's going to help us save a lot of time. So I'm going to add a new job here and I'm going to go to from your templates. Okay, so we're adding the job and we're certainly going to use a template. There's almost no situation where we'd create one from scratch. So let's call this job 54 Morris. All right, the job group, I'm just going to put it in my demo group because I'm demonstrating here. Job type, we're going to call this a kitchen is fine. Okay, open book is my default, right? We will link it to QuickBooks. I'm not going to do that quite yet. I don't want it to create one in QuickBooks. Typically, I already have the customer set up in QuickBooks, so I'm going to want to link that separately. And then here's the important part, source template. I'm going to pick my new project template. Okay, what do I want to import? Typically, we want to do everything. Okay, the reason we want to do everything is everything's tied to the schedule, right? So if we import just a few items and then we have the schedule already there, when we try to import those few items that we didn't import, they're not necessarily going to tie to the schedule. So we want to typically import everything at once. I'm gonna click the save button and my project will be created. I need to give it a start date, of course. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. And this project will get created. And of course, we're saving so much time with the template, right? All of the schedule items, all of the selections, right? Now, once I'm here, now it's time to kind of like complete the setup. I can't get away with no street address, so we wanna put that in, okay? I'm going to put in my info here. Again, this would be valuable if it came from your CRM, but it isn't always the case. Contract price, I'm not there yet. We're still in pre-construction, so I'm going to leave that blank. We got some custom fields there. I might not know all of this yet. And then add our client info. Okay, I encourage you to add your clients pretty much as soon as possible. We should have nothing to hide here, and we can always turn things off. I'm going to show you what the client portal looks like as well. But right now, I'm just going to add one new contact here. It's going to have it be myself, and an email is all we actually need. And you should have already had a discussion with your customer that they're going to be invited to Buildertrend. Hopefully that's the thing that shouldn't be a surprise. But you can also, and you should be updating your template as well, so what they get sent. So it looks like I'm already in there, so I have to add myself there. I already have myself as a contact, so I'm just going to bring that in. There we go. Okay, so there's my customer, okay, active in Buildertrend, and they will now get invited to this job. All right. And we see right over here, we're invited to the jobs, right? So in that message, you're going to want to customize that as well. This contact is already existing in the system. Now they're able to see things. We need to have a client added here. They don't necessarily need to be invited for us to preview what they see. All right, and then from here, let's start to look at what happened with our template. The first thing that should have happened is certainly our schedule, right? This is the biggest time-saving piece of the entire thing, is my schedule is going to get in here. Now, when I say we should have one template, here is why I think that's a good idea. What I'm showing here on the schedule is a very comprehensive schedule that shows a bunch of stuff that may or may not be relevant to my job. For example, we've got clearing, culvert, excavation, footers. You might remember I set this up as a kitchen project. The kitchen doesn't have those aspects, right? So those aren't relevant. But it's way easier to build in the most comprehensive schedule that's possible and then select the few that aren't relevant and delete them than trying to remember all of them or to have separate different templates, right? That's not a best practice. A best practice is to say, here is the biggest project we can do, both on schedule, selections, etc. And then we can pick a few of these and say, all right, on this specific project, these things are not relevant. So I'm going to grab a few of them. There's probably more, and I'm just going to delete them. And there's no harm in doing that, right? I'd rather see them and force myself, my project manager, to kind of think about, is this relevant on this project or not, right? Same goes for selections, right? I'm going to go into my selections. In my selections, when we build out that template, I want you to go through and have every single thing that could possibly be relevant on the type of projects you do. If you never do new builds, then you don't need to build them out to this extent. But if you do kitchens, baths, additions, new construction, custom homes, I want you to build out the template for the biggest net there, which would be probably your custom homes, okay? So I've got here windows, doors, garage door. Do I need a garage door in every project? Absolutely not. But I'd rather have it here potentially preloaded with my favorites, right, that I could delete if not relevant. Windows is a big one. You know, we're a custom builder, so we're not necessarily giving our customers like, here's good, better, best, but we're almost always quoting for them Anderson 400, Marvin Elevates, and Pella Lifestyle. So why not pre-populate my template with a nice link that the customer can go to? I didn't have to redo that work. All I have to do is get my quote and update the prices, okay? So what you're going to do, just like with what you do with the schedule, is you're going to go through this and delete those items that just aren't relevant. So I can select a few of these and say, you know, on this project, I don't have a garage door, I don't have custom glass, I've got no built-ins. I can go ahead and delete those items. It's so easy. It's way easier to bulk delete than to create from scratch. All right, we're doing this everywhere on the job setup, and then you decide at what point it's time to start turning these things on for your customer. Okay, and as we kind of round this out, one thing that Buildertrend's really good at is giving you that customer preview. And a lot of folks don't know where to find that. It's so easy to do. It's right here. You have this little house here. Assuming that we've added a client, we can click that to see what does the customer see. Now, I haven't turned much on yet, right? We're just starting out. I'd encourage you to tell your customers, like, listen, you might not see that much yet because we're just getting the project going. Let me bounce this over to the other tab here and open this up. But you should be looking at this constantly. Right? You want to understand what your customer is seeing. Right now, they don't see too much. Why? We haven't turned anything on yet. Let's do that. So I'm going to go to my schedule. And at a certain point, we want to turn that on. We are big proponents of saying, you know, give the customer access to the schedule from the get-go. We know the schedule moves. It's our job to educate the customer that these jobs are complex. The schedule moves. You're in good hands here. You're going to see things move in and out. That's normal, right? If this was easy, everybody'd be doing it. These are complex projects. They're paying you a good amount of money to manage that complex project. So embrace that. Tell the customer it's going to move in and out, and we'll let you know when there's a huge risk. We want to turn that schedule on, absolutely, and make sure that the customer can see it. Okay? So as I do that, okay, I'm going to skip my notifications. Now the customer should be able to, within their login, see the schedule. So let me go up to there, and their schedule starts to show, right? And so on my other screen here, I'm looking at, all right, what does the customer see? Is it going to look interesting to them? Are they going to wonder about the foundations in there? They're going to ask that question, hey, isn't this a kitchen remodel? I better go back to mine and edit that, right? So you want to be constantly looking at what the client sees and make sure that it's relevant, right? Same thing with selections. At a certain point in time, we're going to want to say, these selections are all in scope. Let's go ahead and release any that aren't released yet. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Let's release those selections. And now the customer can do the work of making selections, right? All the stuff that we've shown them in the training, they're able to now do. So we've released those selections. And again, if we look on their screen over on the right, what I'm doing here, I go to selections, and from the customer's point of view, we're able to see everything that they need to start picking, right? And as we populate our choices, they're going to see that as well. We talked about those windows, okay? If they want to start doing some research into Anderson, Marvin, or Pella windows, they can click into our selection. They can click on the link that we provided to them, and they can start doing that research, okay? The other thing you absolutely want to do, one of the first steps in setting up your project, make sure your files are there. This is low-hanging fruit. So first step, you're going to have your folders deployed. That's great. But you also want to make sure that you get in any kind of relevant client documents. This goes a long way. So if you want to take in your contract, click and drag it in. That's a really good task to set things up, right? You want your customer, there's not much on Buildertrend to start when you're just starting with pre-con, but you want to, at a minimum, enable it so that when your client goes in, they look at what documents are there, their contract is there, maybe their architectural plans are there. Now, you probably noticed in my template, we're going to put in to our template some training videos for the customer. Buildertrend does a really good job at doing some training for the customer, but I love to do this from our perspective. So I took the time to record, I think, 5 training videos, Buildertrend training videos. That's me recording my screen and showing them, here's what projects look like, here's how we use it. Maybe there's something that's unique and nuanced that they might not find on a typical Buildertrend video. So take the time to do that to really show your customer, like, listen, we are engaged in this software, it works really well, and we want you to be as well. All right, so we're just kind of getting going with the project here, but as I mentioned, we want to bring our customer in as early as possible. It's really easy for them to come into Buildertrend. There's not much there. Maybe there's a schedule, there's some selections, some files, maybe no financials yet. They start using the system, maybe start messaging in the system. They're used to it. They are flexing that muscle. Now, as we go through pre-construction, we start to add more. We start to work through, for example, maybe our to-dos. They're going to see this thing really turn into a robust machine. And as we get into production, we're going to use it as a machine, right? It's going to really see a lot of action. We're going to have daily logs. We're going to see schedule shifts. We're going to see selections being made, change orders, all of that. So we want to get them in as early as possible, okay? One last little tip on setting up for your customer. I encourage you to make your daily logs visible to your customer. Now, daily logs are most relevant when we're in production, but a really nice little nugget for your customers, add a daily log to either say, you know, we had a pre-construction kickoff meeting, or just like a welcome to Buildertrend daily log. That's all it needs to be, because we want our customers to be really excited about Buildertrend, and Buildertrend does a really good job of putting those daily logs like front and center on their home screen. So just welcome to Buildertrend. I'm so glad you're here. Whatever the case is, just like whenever the date of their invite, or maybe you had a project kickoff meeting, you can share the notes of that, okay? Make sure that your customers can see it. It's a really big thing for me. I think that daily logs are potentially the lowest hanging fruit, okay? And now that'll show up for the customer. It'll also show up on their homepage. Okay, welcome to Buildertrend. They'll get used to this update section as well. So a little quick tip for you there. Let me know your thoughts. I want to know about your pre-construction process as well. Is there a different point in time that you're inviting your customer to Buildertrend? Surely there might be a reason for that. I'd love to hear from you. I'd also like to know what questions you have, either about our process or about the technology itself. There's so much more we have left to share on Buildertrend. We're going to be doing just that. We're going to be working through this example and several others. So I'd love to hear your questions and your feedback. And I'll see you on the next video.